What's up, y'all? Welcome to Let's Dig the podcast. Okay, whether you are dating, you're trying to get back on the dating game, maybe you're even a parent and you're giving advice to your kids about dating. What
Ooh.
else? What else we talking? Like,
Uh,
who else needs to hear this?
the single ones that want to date somebody.
All right, the single. Okay, I think I said that in the first
Did
category.
you?
I don't know. Okay, stop searching, stop clicking around. This is for you right now. We just had somebody send us a message,
Mhm.
right? Because we put out a poll the other day saying ask us anything, and someone asked us like, what was the question?
They asked us, what do you wish that you could say to your younger selves while you were still dating?
And that is such a good question. Shout out to one of our subscribers, our followers on
It was a good
Instagram.
one.
It was a good question, right? And I actually like that question because we often talk about that all the time, man. I wish I would have known that
Yeah,
when I was younger.
true,
And so for us, some of the stuff we still make those adjustments even now as we're married,
true.
but we do give advice to other people that are dating, some things that they should know. So we wrote down 3 things that you probably must know when you're dating while you've been dating for a while. Let's say you're seeking for marriage, which first of all, if you're dating and you're not seeking marriage, I'm not sure what you're doing. Stay tuned for the third one. The third one is my favorite one. That one right there honestly struck our marriage when
For
we
sure.
realized at a very late time, in our marriage that we're like, yo, why did we not discover this a lot earlier?
That's true.
Ready?
That's true.
All
Yeah.
right. Let's
Let's
dig.
dig.
Well, okay. So the very first thing that we would tell to our younger self when we were dating is, I forgot it. I'm playing. I'm
You're
playing.
like, and I don't
Yes.
remember.
I'm playing. Okay, the very first thing that I would say to anyone that's dating or you're seeking to date, right, is don't don't undervalue your values.
So true.
Don't undervalue your values. Here's what I mean by that is a lot of times we get into the dating scene or we've been dating for a while or we're with somebody and there are certain things that's very important to us.
Yeah.
And we feel like, okay, I don't want to scare this person away. So
Mhm.
we hold back.
Right.
Or let's say it's our faith. That's a very big value to some of us. And some people are like, I don't know if they're a Christian too. I don't know if they believe too. I don't want to invite them to church yet. And you start dating. Next, you know, he's like, I'll do it soon. I'll do it soon. 6 months go by, 1 year go by, and they have no idea that you're a devoted believer in Christ.
Lord have mercy.
How many times have we seen that?
Over and over and over again.
It's crazy.
Or I have seen so many girls, women, like start talking to a guy, they really like him. And my first question to them, like girls that let me speak into their life, my first question is he a believer? Because we ain't got time to waste if he ain't.
Ain't wasting
Like,
time.
we're not wasting time. And I had someone that I was talking to a few months ago, and I said, girls, you believer? Like, because we're not wasting time on him. And she was like, yeah, he believes. Well, fast forward a few months later, and he did believe, but he
Yeah.
also believed in this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing because we live in California and people believe in a lot of
Believe in
things
all
out
kind
here.
of things.
And so it turned out that it was very disappointing
Yeah.
that he didn't have the same beliefs as this young lady. And I was so hurt for her
Yeah.
because she wasted her emotions, her time, and her heart on this guy. But it has to be like, you have to be so clear about your values and to not like hide them, put them under, like put them behind a curtain and see like, do I want to
Yeah.
tell him how much of a Jesus lover I
Yeah.
am?
Well,
Like
I mean,
not tiptoeing around it.
I wouldn't really say that she wasted time, because obviously she's one of our listeners too. Like, I wouldn't say that she wasted time. Like, I think she did a great job, like making that a point in their relationship to really talk about it and ending it once they realized they did not share that
I guess,
value.
yeah, I hear you on that. And I will say everything that we go through, every relationship we go through, we take something from it, right?
Yeah.
We learn something from it.
Right.
We learn things that we do want in the next one or we don't want in the next one. So I don't want to say wasted. You're right.
Yeah.
But as from a woman to a woman, there is a part of us that gets hurt
Yeah.
every time something doesn't work out. And so that I'm an empath, me seeing my friend and her hurting from that, that's where I was like, man, I didn't want to see you go through that.
Yeah.
And so I think and again, to that person, she didn't do anything wrong.
Sure.
It was kind of the guy, honestly. He wasn't
Yeah.
really upfront about what he did believe in, all that he believed in.
Mm.
But I think just knowing that going in there with your values And that no matter how much you like that person, because at the beginning you like that person so much,
Yeah.
you don't want them to judge you. You don't want them to know like everything about you. So you kind of like hold your cards close to your chest a little bit of like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold them right here and then I'll lay them out as we go.
Right.
But knowing like that those values are what make you you.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
cannot undervalue how important they are.
I heard a guy kind of describe it like, imagine a table. You see a table, you use a table, you put your cup on it, you put your food on it, you eat on it, you do so many different things, you put your elbows on it, you rest on it, right? But that table is only standing because of the foundation, because of the legs. And it
Mm.
takes these legs to put it up. And a lot of times we don't give shout outs, right? To the legs.
Shout out to those chair legs.
Shout out to
table legs.
shout out to the legs here on this table that's providing the
Not at all.
foundation here for
Right.
this table. You just kind of use it.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for those legs, like that table would be wobbly, that table would be breaking, right? Like we've seen that happen. We've seen chairs break and fall just because something happened to the leg. If something's wrong with the chair, sometimes it's not really the base, it's the legs, or it's not the seat.
Right.
And one guy was saying, like, when it comes to dating, I love his perspective on it. And I actually agree with it. That's why I'm saying it is really determine like, okay, the legs on which this table stands on.
Mm.
I heard a story of a guy that was dating this girl, and he liked her. They were kind of hitting it off, felt really good. And he had to go back home to visit his family because somebody graduated. So he brings her with him to meet the whole family. And the whole time
Mm.
he's kind of watching her personality, her temperament, her behavior with the relatives, how she was interacting with the mom, the grandparents, the cousins, because this guy really valued family. And I don't remember if he really expressed to her how much he valued family, but that moment, that opportunity gave it its chance for it to all come out.
Right.
So the story ends up where she was on her phone the whole time. She was giving short answers, very surface. She was never going deep. She was just trying to leave. She was trying to cling to him the whole time. She didn't really want to hang out with the relatives. The moment they landed and came back home, he broke up with her.
Toodles.
And I love that story because I think so many times, man, we see people undervalue their values. They downplay it. They just compromise. They think it's not that big. Maybe I can just let it go. I can change. I can keep it to myself. I'll change for this person. But you're not realizing like these are the legs that keeps these tables up.
That's true.
And so we've seen people, right, cut off family members, which family should have been one of the greatest values, but because they did not determine that as a value, they let someone pull them from their family. Years later, they're like, man, something's going on with my family. And it's like, no, that person that you was with, like pull you from one of the foundations of what you stand on, which is family. So that's why we talked about do not undervalue your values, overvalue it.
And while we're talking about values, I think it's important to talk about what can those values be, right? Like for us, we grew up in the church. So our relationship with Jesus is a huge value for us. But there are other things like family. There are other things of like, for us, we do not do well with liars. That is a value that if I meet someone who lies, like I'm good. Like, no, thank you. I cannot settle for dating someone who's a liar or like cheats the system, like those people that just like to be like, oh, you can just do that and you get around that little thing, like crooks. Like, so those are some values. Can you think of other ones that maybe like outside of your religion and your choices of relationship, but like other values that you would want to consider to be really high and important in relationships?
I mean, I got some values that I ain't ready to share right now in front of all the people. Some values that I don't think you've even heard them before.
What?
Right? We're gonna unveil them here.
I don't know what you're talking about, guys. I'm nervous.
I'm like,
I don't know what Pierre's talking about.
This ain't about us. This is about y'all that's listening. All right. So
okay, so think about those values that are important to y'all.
Yeah, like what's important to you? What are the things that you feel like, man, I actually cannot live without? These are the things that are my foundations.
Or
right?
I cannot live without, or I can't live with that.
Yeah.
Like if someone has a habit that you cannot live with, that's a value. Like I have a value, I can't live with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for us, like, like both you and I, we've been blessed enough to not come from broken homes,
Yeah.
right? However, there are things in my family, things in your family that was never really dealt with on both sides.
Right.
And we've seen the fruits of it throughout the years, throughout the decades and things like that. But what we're saying is that gave us an opportunity to really evaluate our families, evaluate our parents, and really
Right.
determine to us, okay, what are things that we've seen them do that we really enjoyed,
Yeah.
that we want to adopt, and what are things that we've seen them do that we're like, I think I would do it a little bit different.
Right.
So we really have to determine those things. And I think for people that are dating, man, like especially when you're first dating, like you have nothing to lose, right? I've said it before and I'll say it all the time. Like you have nothing to lose at the top. Like you have to really figure out, okay, why am I even doing this? Am I dating someone that values marriage, right? If you value marriage, if you
Right.
value a home, if you value family, those type of things, like make sure that you're getting involved with someone that shares the same values as you. And if they don't share your same values, I'll say this in this same topic, that's okay, but still voice to them what's important to you.
Yeah.
And you guys can talk and have an understanding of if you're willing to let it go, if you're willing to adjust it, if you're
Right.
willing to adopt new values, like bring understanding to it. But I'm like, you ain't married to the person and you guys don't share the same values and you're not talking about it, you're not sharing it. Like, bro, just stop doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do believe that that's one of the greatest tips that we can give somebody that's dating, that's pursuing dating, that's trying to get back into the dating world, or parents that are trying to give advice to the kids that are dating. Like, don't drop your values. Don't compromise. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Ready for number 2?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 2 is know who to listen to. So
Mm,
when we were talking about this, the concept is knowing who those important people are in your life before you start dating that you will allow to speak into your relationship.
yeah.
So, for instance, when I met Pierre, I had a mentor from my college, and
Right.
she meant a lot to me. I was very close with her. She meant so much to me. And when I told her that I was telling Pierre to stop calling me, she straight looked at me, I believe it was Olive Garden in Columbus, Ohio, and said, "You're a freaking idiot."
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it stuck with me,
Yeah.
of allowing her to speak into my life and for her to be the one to be like, "You have a guy that has everything you've ever wanted and you're telling him to stop calling you." So she was one of the people that I knew I could listen to.
Mm,
And so before you get into a relationship or before you start dating, know who those people are. Usually it's not more than 2 or 3 people.
right.
And maybe it is a pastor, maybe it is a mentor, maybe it's your older sister. Sometimes it can be your parent, sometimes it ain't. It just depends on your relationship with them.
Yeah.
But knowing who those people are and who can speak into your relationship when you start dating someone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. When we were dating, like when we started pursuing each other, and I remember thinking, like, okay, this girl could be the one. There were 3 voices that I allowed to speak into the situation.
Hmm.
And so, as we're saying this, right, one of the greatest advices that we can give to someone that is dating is know who to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, just because she's your homegirl, just because he's your homeboy, does not mean they're the person that gets to speak into your relationships, especially when it comes to dating and pursuing marriage. For me, I made the decision that the number one voice that I wanted to listen to was the voice of God.
Yeah.
And how do you hear the voice of God? First of all, it's through reading the word. It's through reading the Bible. It's submitting to him. It's talking to him daily. And talking to him is not just always words coming out your mouth. Sometimes it's you stop talking and listening. God speaks. He gives impressions. He gives thoughts,
Yeah.
especially thoughts that would never come from you.
Right.
Especially when you're walking with God, you're like, man, where did that thought come from?
Right.
It's the Holy Spirit putting it in you.
Right.
So I remember those thoughts started getting very strong and very heavy. And they weren't thoughts of like lust. They weren't sexual thoughts,
Right.
right? They were thoughts of like, man, peace, thoughts of like pursuing life together.
Yeah.
It was thoughts of care and genuine concern for you. And I
Yeah.
remember feeling a love for you. And I knew that was coming from God.
Yeah.
So the very voice, the very first voice that I decided to, I know I'm
I
like,
got
I'm
lost.
struggling.
I was like,
The
wait,
very
what verse are we talking about?
Zabazi for Zabaza. Jajaba.
I was like, oh, what verse are we in?
Jabba. I'm gonna get my words right, y'all. So I'm gonna say it really slow. Y'all know I be struggling sometimes. So the very first voice
There you go.
that I decided to listen to was voice of God.
Yeah.
The second voice that mattered to me was my mom, actually. And not because I'm a mama's boy. I am a mama's boy. I was always a mama's boy. I love my mom. We had a good relationship, but it was actually because she walked with God.
Right.
She walked with the
That
Lord.
woman knew him.
So I knew she knew him.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, when she was speaking, when she was talking from care, concern. She didn't care if you were black or if you were white,
Right.
or if you were a city girl or a country girl. Like,
She did not care.
like, she didn't care anything. She just knew, like, okay, God put this in my heart. So I respected her, and I respected her relationship that she had with God, that I decided, I'm like, okay, she's going to be the second voice that I allowed to speak into my relationship with you.
Right.
The third voice that I allowed to speak into my situation was my youth pastor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. It's been about 10 years since he's passed away.
Yeah.
And I still think about him quite a bit because he left such a huge impression on my life. If you've ever served with me, if you ever served with my team, you served under my leadership, like, if you've met this guy, you would know where all my style of leadership comes from. And I love him. His name was Nolan, and he was my youth pastor. And I remember him speaking to it. I remember him asking, like, he used to call me Petey, and he'd be like, well, Petey, I met her, and, she sounds like she has her head on her shoulders. Sounds like she's pursuing God. It sounds like you really like her. It sounds like you guys have the same things in common, right? So I remember him speaking into it. I had other people in my life at that time. I had friends, best friends. I had 4 siblings. My dad, noticed I didn't put him on the list, right? I had my senior pastor at the time, but I chose the people that I decided to speak into my situation. Listen, you guys sometimes let too many people speak into what you're going through. I was telling someone the other day, it's like, if you're athletic, if you're a football player or a basketball player,
Right.
and your mom says, son, I'm gonna get you a coach for you to learn how to play basketball. And your dad's like, I'm gonna get you a coach. So now you get 2 different coaches trying to train you on basketball. One is like, here's what we learned in Europe. And the other one's like, here's what we learned in Brazil. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, who's right or wrong? No, they both have different methods and different approaches to the situation.
Right.
So I think sometimes a lot of us get confused because we allow too many people to speak into our situation, and they're not in alignment. So the 3 voices were all in alignment with the one voice.
Right.
So that's why we say one of the greatest tips we can give to you guys is know who to listen to.
And it doesn't mean, and it doesn't have anything negative towards the people in your life that are close to you that you don't give that space to.
Yep.
You can have, you had plenty of siblings, you had best friends, you had people that were very close to you, but they were not those top 3.
Yeah.
And so it didn't mean any negative to those relationships in your life at that time. They just were not the top 3 that were the most important and were given that privilege to speak into your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some people in my life at that time that was against us dating.
Right.
That was against us being together.
Right.
I won't say who they are. I won't say what they said because that doesn't matter right now. All that matters is I made a decision to say, I love you. I care for you. You're this in my life, but I don't receive those things. So sometimes we have to learn to just not open up the door to some people to speak into your situation. Don't even open up the door. I have people that come to me all the time and say, man, I started confessing some stuff I was going through this to someone else, and they gave me some advice, and now I'm tripped up. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. And in my head, I'm just like, why are you opening up to all the wrong people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do believe, man, this is one of the greatest advice that we can give to anybody, especially if you're dating right now, like dating that person that could be the one. That's a very delicate situation.
For sure.
Don't allow everyone to speak into it, even if they love you, even if they care for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Third
Before
one.
we get to number 3, hold on, pause. We're going to get to number 3 in a second. But if you have really been liking these conversations, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. We're always in the comments talking back to y'all. And also don't forget about the New Life collection. It is available. There is a link, and it is the old life has passed away and the new life has begun. So don't forget your merch. It's super dope. I love it so much.
Statistics, analytics actually has been showing right now that 80 to 90% of our viewers are not subscribed. What are you guys doing?
Just click the button.
Just hit the button. Like, don't you like the sound of my voice right now? Or should I use my Haitian accent? Ips. My name is Pierre Pide Junior. You are now listening to the Let's Dig the podcast.
The podcast.
So today we have a discussion. Anyways, yo, what are you guys waiting for? Just hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. It's going to show the algorithm that people really like this conversation, and send it to somebody. What are you guys waiting for? And yes, I want to elaborate more on that shirt that
Go
she's wearing.
ahead.
If you guys do not know, that is our shirt that
It's
we've designed.
ours.
We've designed it. You see, it's the old and the new. The old is crossed out. The reason why God gave us that vision, because I really wanted us to design something that was a product that would be the testimony of those who believe in God, right? You know, we all have a story. We all have a testimony, things that we've gone through, but we all have a new story who
Mm,
God has called us to be,
yeah,
right? And a lot of times in this world, people tend to see us for who we were, but
true.
God sees you for who you are.
It's good.
And that's why we have this shirt. So in the back of the shirt, it's a scripture. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 17. It basically says, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ is a new person. The old is gone and the new is here. So, yo, the link is available. Hit that link. It's on Shopify. Get it for you. Get it for someone else. And if you're having a hard time even sharing your story about what God has done for you,
Mm,
this shirt is a great conversation starter.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Number 3. All right. Number 3 is
So,
drum roll, please. Oh, do you want to do 1 and 2 to remind everybody?
no,
Oh,
I'm just like, wait, where are we? What are we talking about?
number 3.
Okay, so the third greatest advice that we can give to anyone that is dating is to remember who you are. Don't lose yourself, all right? Keep who you are. Don't forget who you are.
Yeah.
This third one is the biggest one because for us, we learned later on in our relationship that we should have talked about this earlier in our dating life.
Yeah.
Right? We compromise certain things, especially you, like in our early stages. There are certain things that you forgot, you compromise, or you just put to the side because I, in that moment, was in the light, or I, in that moment, was doing really big. So you forgot who you were for, 10 years plus.
For sure. I lean, and I've talked about this in our other episodes of what it means to be a wife, and that I am just naturally more of a supportive wife. Submission is really easy to me. Like the Bible says, wives submit to your husbands. Check. Got it. That's very easy for me. But after 10 years of marriage, I realized I had actually submitted even who I am and the gifts that God's put inside
Mhm.
of me, and realized that it wasn't in the sense of um it wasn't like a conscious decision. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a conscious decision of like, oh, I'll just become nothing and stand right here and let Pierre do all of it.
sure.
But it was so natural. You're a strong personality. You're a strong man. So it was really easy for me to just let you lead, and I'll just take a back seat. I'll take care of the kids or whatever. Like, go ahead, babe. Like, go do you.
Yeah.
So I think but this is for men and women in dating. It is so easy because you want to be compatible and you want to connect with that person you're dating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wiggle the lines a little bit.
Mm.
You think like, "Oh, I really like doing that," but they don't like to do it. So it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Mm.
I would challenge you to think about, is that going to be a big deal in 10 years when you don't do that anymore?
Mm.
Cuz there were things in my life that I would say, "Oh, I put it on the back burner or I just put it back there. It's fine."
Yeah.
But it did over time make a difference of like, "Oh, I really do love doing that," or "That really is a gift that God's put on my life." And so knowing what those things are. So if there's something that comes up and you're
Mm.
like, "Oh, they don't really like going hiking," and it's fine. I just do it by myself. If you are dating for long term, is that something that will bother you in 10 years,
Mm.
that your spouse won't share this time of hiking with
That's
you
good, man.
or whatever it may look like? You know, putting this the perspective of fast forward 10 years, does this impact how I feel about this decision?
Mm.
So knowing that like that might be something that's part of me that's really important, and I
Yeah.
want whoever ends up being my spouse to honor that and to be a part of that with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool, man. I think too, like while people are dating or pursuing it, like going into those first dates, second, third, fourth date, like sharing about yourself and the things that are inside of you. Like we talked about, this kind of connects to the first tip of your values, but it's very different. The values are more foundation, things that mean a lot to you, things that matter to you, who you are. Right. Those are the things that you're pursuing in life. Those are the dreams that you have. Those are the
Yeah.
visions that you have. Those are the businesses that you want to start, the books that you want to write, like the podcasts that you want to launch, like the songs that you want to write, the things
Right.
that you want to pursue, and like the places that you want to travel, the dreams that you have. Those are the things that make up really who you are. And I think so many times in relationships, especially in the dating world, that some people are afraid to share like the things that are about themselves, or some people also hide certain things about their temperaments or their behaviors, because
That's so
as
true.
we're saying, don't forget who you are, keep yourself, remember who you are. We're not just talking about itemized things or materialistic things. We're talking about personalities.
Yeah.
We're talking about temperaments
Yeah.
and behaviors, right? If you got a loud laugh, a laugh that you get kicked out of movie theaters, hey man, stop hiding that laugh, man. Let your partner hear that
That's
laugh,
true. They got to know
right?
what they're signing up for.
You know what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
if
you knew what you're signing up for when you saw my car in
Like,
college.
you know what I'm saying? Like Danilee, when I first met her, you guys remember, like she wanted to be Puerto Rican and she was always getting these tans. So when I met her, and then she had a Puerto Rican best friend too.
I
So she's
did.
always talking, hey, mira. I was like,
Pero
I'm like, oh, snap, got me a little country Puerto Rican girl.
country
I'm
Puerto
like,
Rican.
this is
You've
weird.
Never
So
said that before.
then we get married and the tan starts to fade. And I'm like, hey, what's happening with your skin? Like, what's going? I thought you were Puerto Rican. Did you just catfish me?
Bro, I didn't. You used to say that, and I'd get so defensive. I'd be like, "You married a white woman." Man, y'all, when
And then
I
we
look
saw them
back at the
pictures.
pictures, I straight because we got together when tanning beds were very important. It was Jersey Shore, like Snooky days, like all my millennials know who I'm talking about. Like tans were the
Hey,
tan of tans.
there we go.
I
So,
did
hey,
catfish you.
it's fine because I love you and I fell in love with you. But what I'm saying is the point of what I'm saying is like, don't hide, don't like
Who you
cover,
are.
suppress
Yeah.
those things that are who you are, your
Yeah.
personality. Like, remember who you are, man. Because the thing is, if you're trying to be somebody else,
Oof.
that person that you're trying to impress, they are falling for someone that is fake.
Yep.
It's pretentious. It's not a real person. And then one day it comes out or one day it explodes and you're like, this is who I am. I've always been this person. On the other person's defense, they're going to be like,
I never saw this
I
person.
never saw this person.
Right.
So it's not worth hiding certain things about your personality, your character, right? These temperaments, behaviors, just to try to impress someone while
Right.
you're dating. Remember who you are. Remember the things that are on the inside of you, and remember the things that are on the outside of you. Because last thing you need is a person you're dating is the one that's shining light on your personality. Be like, oh my gosh, I just noticed you're so da 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 da. And now you're over here getting offended, right? But you should know that about yourself. That's happened to us plenty of times in our marriage where I would mention stuff. I'm like, babe, like you ever realize that you always do this da da da, or like you're very blah, blah. And like sometimes you'd get defensive, or it'd be years later, like, yeah, I never knew that about myself. And I get it. So there's certain things, it's you live with it, so you don't realize it.
Right.
It takes someone on the outside.
To point
But
it
what I'm
out.
saying is on the dating world, get to know yourself first. Remember who you are. Don't hide it. Don't lose yourself. And you'll have nothing to lose, just everything to gain, man.
Yeah.
You get to be in a relationship and there's freedom in that, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
that's all we got, man. for
That's
today.
all we got. So I'm going to go from the top so that we remind ourselves and everybody else. Hold on. I had to pull it up. 1, 2, 3. Ready?
So the first advice that we would give to anyone that is dating is don't undervalue your values. Like if it's your foundation, make sure that those that you're in a relationship with, those that you're pursuing, know the things that make who you are. The second advice that we would give to everyone is
Know who to listen to.
know who to listen to. Not everyone who loves you or cares for you is the right person to speak into your dating life,
So
right?
true.
The third advice that we would give is remember who you are. Remember the things that are on the inside of you and the things that are the outside, your personality, your character, your temperaments, your behavior. And I guarantee you guys, while you're dating, like you will have a successful outcome, even if that the person works out or they don't work out. You
Yeah.
can walk away saying that, hey, I stood my ground.
Yeah.
So shout out to our Let's Dig crew member that sent that message. I think it's a very cool question. Very cool. So also we're doing this whole thing right now of like ask us anything. So for those of you that don't know, we put out a message. So you can send us a message on Apple, on Spotify. You'll see a link right there that says send us a text message. You'll see it right here on YouTube. For those that are writing, you could write it in the comment. If you're with us, if you've been with us on TikTok, like we respond on TikTok, even Facebook too. We're on Facebook too as well. We watch it, we do monitor it, and we do comment back. And most importantly, to Instagram too as well. You can send us a DM, send us a comment, like ask us anything. We don't have a bunch of answers, but we really just have insight and experience to share with you guys, man. That's all I got.
All right, let's stay crew. We love you. We hope that this helped you know a little bit more of what you're going into when you're dating. And all in all, dating is an exciting time in your life. Enjoy it, make wise decisions, but it's an exciting time. We look back at those times of us dating, and it's some of the best memories. So go into it knowing who you are, knowing who you're going to listen to, and knowing your values. And we love y'all. Let's keep digging.